Howdy, folks. I'm Charles Ham, author of Ponder on It Pilgrims, a three-time #1 international bestseller that is now sold in 13 different countries. I hope you'll check it out. You can go to my website, charlesham.com, and find out a lot more about it, or you can just search for it on Amazon and find it there. I'm going to start with a story today, and it's the title of it, or what I like to think of it, is The Bond of Blood. He had not arrived yet, but I knew he was coming. Memories from long ago swirled through my mind. Memories from a simpler time, mostly childhood memories. Memories of people I had loved and are all now gone. All but one. I had driven from Houston, Texas to Southern Ohio to see this man for this particular reason. And I was trying to remember the last time that I had seen him. And I estimated that it was probably around 50 years before. It had been that long. Then a pickup truck came into view as it rounded the curve out on the road. My gut just told me it was him. Sure enough, the pickup slowed, turned in the driveway, and pulled over into the grass and parked by the barn. And the driver's door opened, and an old man emerged that I would have guessed to be in his mid-80s. The years had certainly taken their toll on him. I would have never recognized him in any other place that I might have run into him, but I knew it was him. And time had gotten in a few good licks on me too over the last 50 years, and I knew that he wouldn't recognize me either. As he walked to the back of his truck, he turned his back to me and all the others who had gathered there for this special day. Then he dropped the tailgate of his truck, and he was reaching into the back of it for something as I walked up behind him. "You'd be my Uncle Donny," I said. The old man turned around and looked at me, and my heart seemed overwhelmed with what I can only describe as just absolute love for this old fella. And it was just hard to imagine. I'm Charles's boy. I extended my hand, fighting back tears. He paused for a moment, looking at me like he was just taken so off guard that he hardly knew what to say. But when I had extended my hand, he finally pulled himself together, and he completely ignored my offer to shake his hand, and he just stepped forward and gave me a great big bear hug, which I returned, and we embraced. And then in a moment, we kind of pulled back from each other and looked at each other. Both of us were still kind of emotional, and we just hugged again. And it was such a special and wonderful time. Happy tears flowed from both our eyes. Donnie was the patriarch of what I call the Kentucky Ham clan. He was born up in that area in Kentucky, and I've talked about that in some of my episodes. But the family kind of scattered, and my daddy moved to Texas when he was a young man. And so I kind of lost touch with them. And my life went on in different ways, and I all of those people up there had become essentially strangers to me. My grandfather, Charles Henry, had 7 children, 5 boys and 2 girls. And my daddy was the third of the 7. And Donnie was the baby of the family, and now the only one still with us. And he played his role well as the senior citizen and elder of the family. When I first attended the reunion 3 years ago, I walked into mostly a world of strangers. There were a few of them that I knew from when I was young. I had some first cousins that I knew, but I hadn't seen them in years either. And I felt like I was just among total strangers. But that was all about to change. I was equally a stranger to them, but a wonderful dynamic played out that day. I met these strangers, and they were my first cousins. Some of them I hadn't seen since we were children. But there were younger people there, just from every age, and they were the children of my cousins, the grandchildren of my first cousins, and all of these people were kin to me directly through Charles Henry Ham, but we didn't even know each other. They were all the extended family of my aunts and uncles. The connections we all shared through those 7 men and women, my aunts and uncles, created a bond of blood. Hugs, firm handshakes, tears, and much laughter were the order of the day. And it seemed like all that needed to be done was for them to know who I was. And once they saw where I fit in the family, I was just immediately family. And these were the nicest people I've ever been around in my life. I've never been treated so royally. It was just a wonderful time. They wanted to know all about me. They wanted to know about my memories of their moms and dads, their father and mother, and my aunts and uncles. They wanted to know if I had memories about Grandpa. Now, Grandpa died when I was 9 years old, but I did have memories of him. One of my stories is Grandpa's gift, which if you haven't watched that, you'll see that Grandpa had an impact on my life in those 9 years that I knew him. They were hungry for stories about him. It seemed like everybody wanted to know stories about everybody else that was there and what they might have known about other people. What a day it turned out to be. I've faithfully attended the reunions now every year since then, but a whole new dynamic has played out. It's not the same as it was that first time. I'm not a stranger anymore, and neither are they. We're family, bonded by blood. If you've lost touch with your extended family, I wish such a day for every one of you. You'll make some treasured memories and never forget stopping time to enjoy them. My pursuit of the bond of blood has gone beyond my living ancestors, those who are still alive. And we have gone, my son and I have made trips up to Kentucky looking for the graves of like my great great grandpa and my great 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 grandpas. And it's been quite an adventure and one of the most rewarding experiences of my life, because each of these men, the graves were extremely difficult to find, and there's no records, and the old cemeteries are all grown up, and the tombstones are down and in many places, and in a lot of places in those old cemeteries a tombstone was nothing but a rock that was used to mark the graves. But I was able to find the place of the burial cemetery of my great grandfather Alexander Kimes Ham, who was a Civil War veteran. Couldn't find his grave, it was gone, but I did find the cemetery where he was buried. And in searching for my great great grandpa, John Robert Dayton, I literally found his grave in one of those old cemeteries. And as an added bonus, he was buried right next to his father. So I found the grave of my great 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 grandpa as well. All of this gives a sense of family beyond the little world of our immediate family. And I thought I would share this with you. I have found great joy in reconnecting with long lost family. And it's something that's good for the soul. It's something that makes us understand better about who we really are as a person. All right, I'm going to leave you with some Texas grit this morning, and then I'm going to say goodbye. My Texas grit for today is: some people thought Goliath was too big to hit. David thought he was too big to miss. It's all how you look at things. Ponder on it, pilgrims. Bye-bye. I love y'all.